What's up, guys?
Howdy, brothers.
Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and
And
Water.
water.
Oh my god, wait. We're not going to say that soon anymore because it's not going to be Whiskey and Water.
Oh,
I'm having a podcast identity crisis.
we told the pod. We told the brothers, right?
We told the brothers already. As a
Um,
refresher, or if you're new here, we will be rebranding the Whiskey and Water podcast to the Socially Ambitious Podcast. But dang, now that I'm saying that, I'm like, oh my God, how are we going to open the show?
it's still gonna be Howdy, brothers.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can ever let that go.
I know. And
You guys
you know
are
what? I think about anyone who's like new to listening, we haven't like explained why we call our audience the brothers in a while.
Dude, no, I was listening to another podcast the other day and she was like, at the beginning of every episode, it was an intro. It's like, my name is Jessica Martin, and I'm a women empowerment and leadership coach here to help you. And I was like,
that's like low key what we should be doing.
We really hop on this bitch and we're like, sup fuckers, let's get into it.
Honestly though, like, yeah, because that's just what we're doing and I'm here for it. Anyways, you guys, welcome to another episode. We are so excited to bring today's show to you. We have a really exciting guest. Her name is Daniela. She is the founder and CEO and owner of Happy V, which is a women's health product line. If you guys have been listening to us talk for a while, you know that there is nothing that is off the table for us to talk about. Anything that is taboo, we are talking about on our show, including vaginal health. So
including stank.
Including UTIs, yeast infections, and bacterial vaginosis. Okay.
So yeah, I guess that's the only disclaimer that we'll be giving. But you guys should absolutely listen through to this episode all the way to the end. Genuinely is full of such good info and also just insight on developing product and Daniela as a founder and CEO, working with her business partner, who's also her husband.
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was fiance or husband. But yeah, honestly, just really, really great. And I love Daniela and I love the products even more after this. So yeah, super great episode.
Yes, very fun, flirty, fresh. Definitely listen towards the end. She gives also some good tips for just upkeeping vaginal health in general, things to keep in mind, which might actually surprise you because we were definitely surprised. But before we get into that, let's do a little squirt catch up.
Catch up, brothers.
Catch up. This is kind of an exciting catch up because we just had a really big month last month for Socially Ambitious, which if you don't know, that is our course company. We have one course right now. It's called the Influencers Assistant course. More things are in the works, but right now that is our main focus. And yeah, we had our biggest month ever last month. It was a big sleigh.
Which, with no coincidence, we also had our company retreat, which was so much fun. And like, you know, we rarely get to have in-person time with Anna. Like, well, and when I say rarely, we mean like annually, because this is only our second time meeting her and the entire time that we've known her. So really, really great bonding time. We also met Michaela, our assistant, and of course, a socially ambitious graduate and our socially ambitious chief of operations. Met her for the first time, and that was just, we had so much fun.
We had so much fun.
We got so lucky. Like, we think about this all the time because, and Anna never regrets to, you know, remind us that like she was only working for us for like a couple weeks before we gave her the opportunity to become a partner essentially at SOAM. And I think about that a lot, which is actually kind of interesting for us because usually we do a little bit more due diligence before like kind of allowing anyone into like our, you know, working spaces. And
well, to be fair, I feel like when we first offered it to her, it was like, hey, do you want to just like help us get the framework
casual
for this down?
Yeah.
And I don't think we necessarily signed up for what it turned into, but I'm so glad like it did, you know?
For sure. 100%.
Like she came in as more of a partner, which I don't think we were originally expecting. We were just almost
we
just
wanted to like pay her hourly.
We were outsourcing really to her. We're like, hey, and I think that's why we didn't like think twice about it. We were just like, yeah, just help us with this. And she took it upon herself to really like become a partner and like show her value and like really bring a lot to the table. And that kind of made that just changed the game for us.
For sure. And like couldn't be more happy that it turned out that way either, because we truly like could not do this. Like it just wouldn't be what it is today without her. So yeah, again, super thankful. And like just even like with how our personalities mesh, I think that we all, complement each other really well. And it's just, yeah, we got really lucky.
Yeah, it was so great. Just a heads up, we have to start filming for the other pod in 5. So I'll wrap this up. Yeah, it was so great. I mean, we by the end of the month, we had 39 new students for the influencers assistant course,
Crazy.
which is definitely like such an accomplishment for us. And it's so cool to see our private Facebook group popping off with everyone like welcoming new graduates and supporting old ones. It's just such a fulfilling, like I have goosebumps every time I talk about it. It's just so fulfilling. To see that like, you're making a difference. And I think like even with the podcast, that was always our goal, is like, we wanted to do this long form content, have these longer, more meaningful conversations, because we wanted to add value to people's lives, however that might come out. And like with the course, it's so cool to really see that happening and like in real time.
Yeah. And like, I mean, in the podcast, it was, we'd get these messages every so often of people being like, you guys, I finally did it. I left my like, corporate job that I hate. Whereas like with the course, it's like people are like doing this directly to, change their lives and have an impact. So it's like a much more immediate like gratification almost, which, isn't like what we're looking for, but it's just, there's a stark difference. And, to have a goal, to be reaching a goal that we've always kind of dreamt of, which is, impacting other people's lives and inspiring them, is like, it's so incredibly fulfilling.
It is all good things. And that's about it. That wraps up our last few weeks. And we know you guys are going to really love this episode. So definitely listen all the way through to the end. But before we hop into it, we're going to take a second to thank our show sponsor.
Today we are thanking Candela Mama Juana. Mama Juana is a spiced rum that's unheard of anywhere besides the Dominican Republic until now. Known to most Dominicans as that sketchy liqueur made with healing herbs and aged by grandparents. Historically, it's been almost impossible to get your hands on a bottle. It's a 500-year-old recipe, and it's widely known as a native cure-all and said to be an aphrodisiac. Mama Juana has a long history of medicinal purposes and its original use, which now just translate to the drink getting its users really loose in record time. So Candela has made it easily and widely available.
Yes, and it is enjoyed neat as shots or mixed in cocktails. It is known for its smooth, sweet taste, rich rosewood and honey aromas, and long finish with warming spices. Jess, I mean, maybe you can speak on this a little bit more, considering I haven't been able to taste it yet. Well, at all. I'm allergic to alcohol.
Yeah. She's gonna try it for the sponsorship, guys. She's risking it all. But no, I actually, obviously I have a bottle. It's in my bar. It's now a staple in my bar. I absolutely love it. Can definitely attest to it being an aphrodisiac. You guys know the vibes.
And fun little fact, they have a partnership with Eco Spirits, creating the Eco Tote, producing, packaging, and distributing sustainably, zero carbon emissions, locally sourced ingredients, renewable energy, ocean cleanup efforts, etc., making Candela the first zero waste rum to be brought to the United States. We love that.
Daily Mail actually called it the most sustainable rum in the world, which is an absolute slay. And you can find it online, in hotels, and at select retailers throughout Florida, California, New Jersey, New York, like Total Wine, Costco, Publix, ABC, and actually even Erewhon, which I'm going to walk my happy little self whenever I'm out right over the street, because I live right next to an Erewhon. So definitely try it out, guys, if you haven't already. And you're going to find a link in the show notes if you want to look at it directly.
All right, guys, we are here with Daniela, owner and founder of Happy V, one of the leading women's health brands. I'm so excited. I'm such a fan of the product, and I can't wait to get into the nitty gritty of how you started the brand, what your background is, what inspired the company. So can't wait to get into it. For our audience who doesn't already know who you are, and they're not familiar with Happy V, could you just give us a little intro about yourself and maybe a small snippet of how you got here, and then we'll deep dive into everything.
Yeah, of course. Well, one, I'm super honored to be here on your podcast. We met at one of our events actually.
We
So,
did.
and you had like an experience with UTIs and like we started talking about it. So, thank you for having me on your podcast. This is amazing. So my name is Daniella Levy. I am the founder of Happy V. Happy V is a women's wellness company that creates different dietary supplements for different issues that women face, like vaginal infections, urinary tract infections, gut health, bloating, all of the things that we don't really like to talk about, but we have those issues and that's okay. It's common, but there are solutions out there for you. Hence, Happy V.
Like,
And yeah, I really started Happy V because of my own struggles with recurring bacterial vaginosis, which is the most common vaginal infection that women have. At
Jess
the
is like
time,
me.
yeah.
no, when you were like, oh, we connected over UTIs, I'm like, whiskey and water. Liv is UTIs. I'm BV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's super common. Like so many women have these issues. It's completely normal. The problem with it really is that there aren't a lot of solutions out there that help with these problems, and there isn't a ton of education or awareness around it. So a lot of times, for example, in my experience, I was going to a ton of doctors. They kept prescribing antibiotics, and I was like, why do I keep getting prescribed the same thing over and over again? And I keep getting BV again. So like it was just a recurring cycle. So every time I'd go to the doctor, they'd be like, yeah, you have BV, here's an antibiotic, send me on my way. And then it took a toll on my mental health, my self-esteem, my relationship, because obviously like when you have this infection, like you don't really want to be intimate with your partner. And at the time I had started dating my now husband, Hans, and I was like, listen, I don't want to have sex because I have this like thing going on. And then I kind of opened up to him and told him what was going on. And he was like, well, I've been in the dietary supplement manufacturing industry for years. We can like see if there are ingredients out there that can help with this. And so we kind of started like diving into like all these different ingredients that were out there. And that's when we stumbled upon probiotics and different probiotic strains that help with the vaginal microbiome. And initially it was really just to like help me with my BV. And then when I saw that like we got to a formula that actually worked, I was like, oh my God, this could really help so many women that are also struggling with these issues. And that's kind of like how Happy V got started. So yeah.
If he wanted to, he
I'm in love with
would.
that. Yeah, right. Oh my God. I actually love that. And like, so actually like just vaginal health in general is something that I've been passionate about for a long time. I'll never forget like a few years ago, I was sitting out like by a pool, and like it was like one of the first days that I had taken off in like a long time. And like as entrepreneurs, our minds just like start racing. And I was like, damn, one day I would absolutely love to do something with like a vaginal health line and just in general, like helping like women and like having it be less taboo and like because it's crazy. Like, why can we like not like just openly talk about it and like we're literally 50% of the population, yet like we can't talk about the issues that we're having. Yet if it was like a man and like a dick infection, like it would be all over the fucking news. It would be solved tomorrow. Like Elon Musk would be making a product, you know what I mean? So I absolutely like love what you're doing, and honestly just so happy to like have you on and be having this discussion.
Thank you. And honestly, like at the time, I was like, should I even start this company? Because like now I have to put my vagina issues out there in the open.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
You are taking one for the team.
No, like when I was telling my parents and my friends, like, hey, I'm gonna start this like vaginal health company, they were like, you're gonna do what? Like, why? I'm like, because there's like a necessity for it. And like we have to, like, there has to be a brand that's, supporting women with these issues, like creating products that are actually gonna work. And they were like thinking, they thought I was crazy at first, but then afterwards they were like, okay, I see what you're doing here.
I
So
see the vision.
time, yeah.
I even love the name. I think it was like a really like cute way to kind of, you
Subtle
know,
way, yeah, like to
yeah, subtle way to reference the girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, it's crazy. Even I can't believe we've had the podcast for 4 years. And this is like, I think one of the first times we're like talking about vaginal health, which is like crazy. I wish we talked about it sooner. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just so common. Like Jess struggles with, BV issues. I struggle with UTIs and now yeast infections. That's the new one on the block.
Yeah.
Love that for me. I'm like, oh, okay. Is this just getting older? Like, what's happening? But it's such a common, thing that women struggle with. And even when I share about it on my stories, like, I get so much engagement because people are just like, oh my God, me too. Like, please let me know, what solutions you find. Like, people are struggling and they need solutions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even to a point where I have to do a flush every time I have sex after. And if I don't, like clockwork, I will get a UTI. So like for me, this is like a supplement that I can't live without, like it's that serious. And it's like not to be dramatic, but like this is how bad of a problem it is for so many women too.
Dude, I mean, do you remember like a few years ago, I was in LA and I had gotten a UTI, but I had never had a UTI before, right? So I like started feeling this pain in my lower back and I went and got a massage and I was feeling like shit. Like I remember like I had rented out this Airbnb and it was like one of my first times in LA and I like laid back and I was like, what is wrong with me? So I go to the doctor and they're like, yeah, you have a UTI that's really extreme. It's like spread to your kidneys. And I was like, well, I didn't know what a UTI was because like we're just simply not educated on it. But like it was so bad that it had spread to my kidneys and was giving me severe back pain.
That's insane. I mean, I've never experienced that, but that's probably so, oh my God, that probably hurts so much. Yeah, and also like everybody experiences these things so differently. Like for you, it'd be back pain. For somebody else, it could be like just constant burning when they're peeing. Some like even with BV, like 50% of women are asymptomatic, meaning that they don't even show any symptoms at all. So they'd have to go to
Oh wow.
like do an actual panel.
I wish I could be asymptomatic.
Yeah, right. So
I'm like, so what's it like to be God's favorite?
seriously. So it's like there's just so much mystery behind like number one, the vaginal microbiome, and then also like all these infections and like how it affects people differently. So like how something might affect you or Olivia or me is just going to be different. But going back to what Olivia was saying, how you're taking the supplement because like you really need it. It's almost like a multivitamin for your vaginal and urinary tract health. It's like you need a multivitamin for your entire body, but then we also need one for like our feminine parts just to like keep everything running smoothly and like not getting an infection because you never know what could trigger something from happening. Like for some people, it could be sex. Other people, it could be like binge drinking. Other people
it could be your gym shorts.
Yeah, like your leggings. Like they could be so many different things or like a compilation of different things that you're doing. So it could be, yeah, just to be able to prevent it from happening is probably the best way to solve that.
Yeah, that and considering that the only other solution, like once you do have a full-on infection, is antibiotics. And it's like I got to a point where I took like 3 or 4 doses of antibiotics in a year because of my UTIs, and I ruined my immune system. So it's like it's just scary because it can elevate to like other health problems.
So
you could get a kidney infection, like an extreme UTI you can die from. Like,
yeah,
we not talking about this more. Like this is a serious problem. So I love that there's like, now you've created a solution that is like preventative and not just like, okay, here's your solution, antibiotics. Like I don't want to keep taking those.
Yeah. Or shoving a suppository up in my vagina every fucking day and leaking. Like, I mean, I can go on all about it. Don't get the details, but
yeah, when we were trying to like see what the solutions were out there, I tried so many different things. And one of the things that I hated were the suppositories because they seep out. It's
oh my God.
Like a thick pad and like it's just like
it's horrible.
And I was like,
and it's like a lot of liquid. Like I'm like, where did this even come from? It's like weird and I hate it because it's like you do have to like it's like being on your period essentially.
Exactly. So yeah, I was like, what can be something that's not going to be uncomfortable, that's not adding another layer of like your routine that you have to do because we already do so much for our health and like skincare, hair care, like all of these different things. So it's like it has to be very simple and something that you remember to do every day.
Yeah.
What would you say? Okay, go ahead.
I was just even saying like the word vaginal microbiome is something that I learned this year. Like I didn't know that the vagina had a microbiome, and I own one, a vagina. Like that's insane.
I am the permanent owner of one.
Like it took me a second to even like understand like and really like because I've done a lot of research myself on BV because I never ever struggled with these issues in the past. Like it came out of literally nowhere, and and then all of a sudden it was recurring and couldn't get rid of it. So I've done so much research, and then I was like, holy shit, like there's an entire just ecosystem going on.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like I think it's like not until you have something like this is that when you dive into all of the education that's around vaginal health, you kind of like take a step back and like, how did I not know this before? Like, why wasn't I taught this? And the other thing just goes back to, I don't know about your backgrounds, but my background is like my mom's Colombian. So I had a Latina mom who was very much like never spoke about these things. And it was like in her upbringing. And so now I'm like, well, I had to learn a lot of these things on my own or like through talking to other women that had similar issues.
Oh my God.
I think that in your early 20s, there's a lot of shame that goes around even talking about these things because of like, oh, I mean, like, I'm not going to judge anybody, but it's like, oh, like you're sleeping around or you're doing this or whatever. And people get really judgmental, especially like when you're in college.
Or you're dirty.
Or you're like, you're not taking care of yourself or it's like, it has something to do with what you're doing that's wrong. And not really, no, there could be so many other things that could cause it.
Well, I like learned about so I didn't even know that what I was experiencing was BV. I was just like, I don't know what's going on. So I did start talking to my friends and I was like, dude, I've been having like, you know, these symptoms. And they're like, oh yeah, dude, like that's just BV. Just throw a boric acid suppository. And like boric acid has been like the only thing that does like has helped me solve it. And like it's not something that I even knew about or like knew like when I was originally looking up my symptoms, it was like, oh, chlamydia. And I was like, and then like I mean, you know, I've always been tested. I don't have STDs, but it's like it was just, you know, BV. And it's like only through speaking to my girlfriends have they been like so incredible. Like in my first yeast infection, found out it was a yeast infection through talking to my friends. They're like, oh yeah, it just sounds like you have a little, like just use some monostat. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's crazy. Like, because unless you get vulnerable and talk to your friends about these things, it's not like there's just nothing out there for you.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I even think like during the time when this was happening to me, I was, I don't know, like 20, from like 20 to 24. And even then I would talk to my friends about it. They'd be like, nope, that's never happened to me. Now it's different because I own a vaginal health company. So they'll be like, hey, I have this. What should I do? Like, should I use? Can I use this product of yours? And I'll give them like more advice.
I'm like, yeah, give me the regimen.
Yeah. But before it was more like, no, I've never had anything happen to me. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm the only one that's
They're
going
like, can't relate.
Yeah.
I would love to know while we're here, what are your biggest tips for vaginal health and you know, avoiding issues? I'm sure, you know, it's supplements, some sort of routine, but I would love to know, like maybe it's not staying in a wet bathing suit. Like I didn't know that you weren't supposed to stay in a wet bathing suit, you know what I mean?
It's like,
so
I did that half of my childhood. Why can't I do that now?
Why can't we do it now? So I would love to know like your best tips for having a healthy, happy V.
Yeah, so that's a great question. There are so many different things, but they're very small things that you're probably already doing now. So one is to look at your diet. So if you're somebody who eats a lot of sugar, sugar can actually contribute to the growth of bacteria and yeast. It's like kind of like the food that fuels it. So you'd want to take a step back and reduce. I'm like drinking my Starbucks.
I literally put so much brown sugar in this coffee just now.
And I always used to like get like 4 pumps of sugar. And then I was like, whoa, I got to dial that down because there is so much sugar in that.
Unfortunately, this conversation has to come to an abrupt end because if the more I hear about this, she's like, yeah, alcohol, and like just everything that I love and do.
Yeah. So everything that you love, stop doing. But yeah, sugar is a huge culprit. The other one
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I used to love sweets. Like I just crave sweets so much. And I've had to like dial back a lot. But whatever, it's okay. Like it also reflects in other areas, like I have like healthier skin, a flatter stomach, like things like that. So it's a positive. The other thing would be to hydrate. So drink tons of water because dehydration can actually trigger your pH to become unbalanced. Then the other thing would be to wear cotton underwear. So don't wear like the lacy, like cute thongs from Victoria's Secret. What else? Switch your menstrual products to organic, non-scented products. Don't leave your tampon or your pad on for too long, because menstrual blood can actually create a breeding ground for bacteria to thrive in. So some people experience BB after their periods, and it could be connected to that.
I've gotten it after before.
Interesting.
So yeah, check out your menstrual products. What else?
I mean, my dumbass is definitely using like Playtex, so it's like poison.
Yeah, so try to like switch that out to something a little bit healthier for your vaginal health. Then the other thing that you could do is like, okay, so when it comes to sex, use like safe lubes, like that have good ingredients in them, so that they don't contain glycerin, they don't contain any scents or any harsh chemicals, because that can also contribute to vaginal infections. Some sort of like different types of birth control, so IUDs, that can also do it.
News to me.
Women can't have shit, dude.
It's so crazy, because you don't even think about these things until you're like looking at your lifestyle, and you're like, what do I do from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, and see what area is like impacting your vaginal health, and almost all of it does.
Wow.
So
it's insane. Even stress, like
yeah, stress.
Like, I mean, everything. It's crazy.
That is
stress
crazy.
is a little bit like harder to control, because
Yeah.
I mean, it's like any given day, like you don't know what's going to happen. So, but yeah, those would be like my top tips. If you're like just getting started and you want to like do something to change your lifestyle up a bit, those would be the ones that I would look at first.
Cool.
I need an exorcism. That'll do it for me.
So I am a big fan of the flushes. How do you say it? D-Minos and cranberry stick.
Cranberry?
Yes. Yes. So I'm a big fan of those, but you guys have so many other products too. And I would love for you to what was the first product that you started with?
So the first one was the prebiotic plus probiotic.
Okay, nice.
So the reason we started with that one was because, again, my experience with bacterial vaginosis, you're being prescribed antibiotic, like rounds and rounds of antibiotics. And what that does is actually deplete your good bacteria levels in your body. And you need the good bacteria in order to fight off the harmful bacteria. And so because I did so much damage, like my gut health and my vaginal microbiome, I probably had very small amounts of good bacteria, which is probably why I kept getting vaginal infections over and over again. So we started with—
It's really just like a toxic cycle.
Yeah. And then also like everything else that I was doing on top of that. So, so we started with the probiotics, because that way I was able to introduce new beneficial bacteria into my body that was going to help prevent those infections from happening, balance out my pH levels, restore my gut back to normal, and again, like just prevent those vaginal infections. And then from there, we did the D-Manos plus cranberry, which was because a lot of our customers were telling us that they also suffered from UTIs. So we're like, okay, let's create something that's going to help them with that. Then came our menopause product, because my mom was like, I need something for menopause.
Stop. I love that.
Yeah. So she was going through menopause, or like perimenopause at the time. And she was kind of like, there's nothing out there that's helping me with like my night sweats, my mood. And we all have not experienced that yet, but I can only imagine how much of a toll that takes on your health.
Dude.
So
I can't believe that like that happens. Like we just like get older, and like our body just starts rioting against us. It's like night sweats. Like I can't experience. I'm not stable enough to experience that.
No, me either. And
it's horrible.
Right now I get cold all the time. That's why I'm wearing a sweater.
Yeah, I'm freezing right now.
But yeah, when I hit that age, I'm probably gonna be hot all the time.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And my mom is like, she gets hot flashes. She's going through it as well, and it's like, yeah, I can't even imagine like how much of a toll that would take on you.
I love that, like, as a founder and business owner, you've like created products really from such a genuine place. Like, those are my favorite founder stories, because it just shows that like you have a why, you know. It's like not just like, oh, let's make a product to make a bunch of money.
It's not that you saw a gap in the market and we're like, oh, let me, capitalize on this. It was like, and I think that just attests so much more to the quality of the product, because like I would a million times buy something from Happy V versus like the leading Amazon seller that's selling these things, because it's like, what are the qualities? Like you're like like the guinea pig, you know what I mean? Like you've tried and true like with all of these products, and it's like you're not gonna like put something in your body that wouldn't be like good for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's not in my values or in our company's values. I would never be able to promote a product that didn't work or wasn't effective, or like, because these are things that people are putting into their bodies.
Yeah,
Like,
it's serious.
on top of that, it's like things that people are really struggling. Like, we get reviews from a lot of like our customers where like, you saved my marriage, you have like changed my life. And like that to me is just like, my heart is just so fulfilled, because I'm like, wow, these women are really able to just get back to living their best lives. And I was also there at one point. So I can only imagine what like they've gone through. Like, some women would be like 10 years with BB, like 15 years
Wow.
with a UTI, like all of these like really insane stories that I'm just like, wow, I can't believe like we're able to help these women with our products. And so, yeah, of course, like we put a lot of effort and we do a lot of research with our ingredients. How we make them is also really important. And we share all of this information on our website, through our social channels, because we also want to show people like what all the behind the scenes, like what goes into making these products and why they're going to help you with like whatever you're facing.
Yeah.
No,
And
that's beautiful.
it is, and it's really smart to be showing people the behind the scenes, because I know like even for me, like I feel so much more connected to a brand when I know who the founder is, you know. So I think connecting your face with the brand and being like, I made this for me originally. Like I wasn't even trying to do this. I was just trying to get help for my own health issues. That's like so much more, you have so much more confidence and trust in a brand when it's like, okay, like I know that that's my girl. She's like looking out for herself and she's looking out for us. So I really love to hear that. And you make the products in Miami, right?
Yes. So,
Miami
okay.
made
Slay.
Miami,
305.
we're Miami made. So going back to like the root of like the story. So my husband, his family has been making dietary supplements for over 25 years. So they make a lot of
Wow.
the supplements that you'll see on like on Amazon and Walmart, GNC, Vitamin Shop, for different brands. And so one of the unique abilities that we have for Happy V is to make our products in-house and like have complete visibility over the entire supply chain, which a lot of brands do not have that. So they'll have to go to like a third-party manufacturer, either overseas or like somewhere in the US or something. And basically the way it would work is like, let's say you had an idea, you say, hey, I want to start this supplement. Somebody would come to you, say, okay, well, this is like the formula that I can create for you at this price. And when somebody comes to you back with like a price, you lose out on the quality, because you're like, well, I have to do the marketing and I have to do the branding. And so that's when you start to see like the efficacy of the product degrade, because they're focusing more on the marketing side than on the ingredients that are going into the product. And so we have this unique ability to make high quality formulas because we own our manufacturing, and we're able to cut out those middleman costs that other brands unfortunately have in their margins.
Love.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I just being able to like oversee the entire process is just like such a game changer, because so many of these companies are just like whitelisting pills and like, I mean, because a manufacturer can just create like, you know, their own painkiller, and then everyone can buy that same painkiller and then just market it a different way. So it's really great that you guys get to do that.
Yeah, and it's like one of the things that we really tried to show people on social, which is like a little difficult, because I think a lot of people think that everybody kind of manufactures their products, which they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing it from like the lens of a customer, I can see how it could be a little bit confusing to be like, wait, I thought everybody did this. And it's like, no, not really. Like, it's like 1% of brands actually are able to
Wow.
manufacture their own products. So we try to show it off as much as we can, and like try to educate people on like what that means for you, like how that looks like, and why the product is going to just be a better, like high quality product than like somebody else's on like Amazon or Target.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
crazy.
Speaking
And
of,
what
go ahead.
I'm just curious, like, and Liv, you can ask what you want to ask as well, but like, I mean, one, you like hit the jackpot with your now husband, like having like being able to, yeah. But I'm curious, how is he a partner in your company, and like how is that, like how's working with him?
it's interesting. So, yeah, he is the COO. He manages all the operations of Happy V, and he was like, so a little bit more like background on me. So I have a marketing background, and I used to do social media marketing for different brands in the nutrition space. And so I never really thought about starting my own brand. I was just like, oh, I like freelancing. Like I like working for other companies because I get to be creative for other people. But he was like, you could create this brand and be the face of it and like really help other women. And then and then he's like, and then you have the factory, you could show everybody like how you're doing this. And I was like, I'm not really into it. So I am appreciative of him because he was the one that really motivated and pushed me to really start this brand, because I was kind of like iffy about it at first. Also just because I didn't want to put my vaginal health out there.
It's really vulnerable.
Yeah, but he was like, you have to do it. You have to do this. And so I really love that he championed that and empowered me to start Happy Bee. And then the other thing is, okay, so working with your partner, it's like, honestly, we're always working. We're always working on the brand. And so we have to set like certain boundaries to be like, okay, we're working partners, and then we're like in a relationship too. So we have to like make time for the two and like set those two apart, because if not, it's kind of like you're just on the clock 24/7, like talking about the business, like what are we going to do next, like these are all the ideas I have. And so that's been a little challenging, but we're working through it. But the other thing is that we're just so passionate that we just like, I don't know, I love working. So it sounds
like hard to not want to talk about it.
So it's kind of hard. So, we're learning how to balance the two. But I do like working with him. I think we have very different skill sets, and we complement each other.
That's amazing.
I'm like more on the creative side, and he's more like the analytical, like financial, operational person.
Yeah, and you need
as both. He should.
You need both so desperately, and thank you for the transparency on that, because like I think that's a lot of what we like to show on this podcast, is that like sometimes it's just hard, and like sometimes we don't have it figured out and we're still trying to navigate it, and it's difficult.
Yeah, and starting your own business is really scary.
Oh my God,
you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we have a pretty big team now, and I'm like, we have so many people that we're responsible for. So like that's just like I love it, but it's also a little bit scary at times. I'm not gonna lie.
For sure.
Getting into it, like I had never owned my own business as far as like having a team, and then like being able to delegate correctly, being able to hire the right people, just like creating a culture where people enjoy what they're doing. So I've learned a lot of those things on the way, but yeah, like when you first start, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that is something that actually isn't talked about enough. It's like, there's the side where it's like you start your own business and you have to build everything from the ground up. You have to think about marketing, you have to think about the products, but like you don't realize that you have to think about learning how to become a leader, and like what type of company culture you want for your brand, and how you want to deal with constructive criticism, how you want to, like, you don't think about how hard that is. But that side, I mean, at least for Jess and I, has undoubtedly been the hardest part of being a business owner, is like the people side of it. Being the HR department is fucking hard. Like,
okay, I'm glad you guys can relate, because I'm like,
oh my God,
I'll bounce this off with one of my friends who also owns her own business, but like I feel like she's the only person I can really talk to about these things, because I'm like, like nobody gives you a handbook. It says, here you go and start your company. And like, no matter how many podcasts you listen to or books you read, you still have your own your own journey, and you're kind of like still navigating the way, like what's right, what's wrong. You're like in your head about things, like, or like overthink things. Like I don't know, but you're dealing with personalities, like
leadership, like there's like being a business owner, there's being an entrepreneur, and then there's being like a leader and being a boss, and like that is really, really fucking hard.
And like at the end of the day, like we're all human, and it's like when do you give people grace and like understand that like people make mistakes, and when do you put your foot down, and when do you have to like kind of like drop the hammer a little bit. Like it's really, really difficult to navigate for sure.
And even like figuring out your own leadership style is hard too. Yeah. Like, there are different styles. Everyone has a different leadership style. Which one do you want to do? Like, it's something I think that like, you're just not expecting when you start your own business. You're expecting all the logistics and the sales and the marketing, but like you're just not thinking about like, oh, what kind of leader do I want to be? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like
Until
just
you're, like, in
hiring
the
the
moment.
right people is so
Got it.
important because like I think Olivia and I have been like so blessed with like the employees that we've had in our time. Like they've just been like we've like very, very, very rarely had to like, you know, correct them or discipline anyone or do anything or like let go of anyone. Like a lot of our employees are like super long standing, and for that we're so thankful. But you know, like even learning how to like hire the right people is such a feat because you know, so many people like oversell themselves or, you know, say that they're doing one thing and then they show up as another, and like having to like fire people like it's so shitty. It sucks. It's like I think we've only like fired like one person, and like that conversation was so difficult for us. Oh my God, we were like on the verge of tears, and like thank God they took it well, but like we hear about like workplace meltdowns all the time, you know, like it's crazy.
And also I think like a female leading and like a male leading is like so different. So
Mhm.
I think that there are tons of like books out there that talk about like from a male's perspective, but not really like from a female's perspective, because I think we're just nurturers. Like we
Yeah.
have more of like those motherly like skills, I guess. And so for us, I think it's a lot more tough to do those type of things like firing or like having those crucial conversations with people on your team can make it really difficult.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's like something that I've definitely faced. And I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one that's facing that. But overall, though, it's been a great experience. And I think I've grown a lot as a person. Um, it's it's been an incredible journey for sure. But I will say, like the first 2 years, I was like on edge. I'm like, what, like, what's going on?
How many years deep are you?
4.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how many people are on your team?
So far 10.
Nice.
Wow. That's
Wow.
amazing.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
What
Yeah.
would you say is like your number one tip for people who are hiring and like scaling a business when it comes to hiring and choosing the correct candidates?
So we've gotten to the point where we do projects. Like, so we of course we'll do 3 rounds of interviews now because
Wow.
we realized that like one round was not enough. So usually it's like the executive team will,
Not enough.
no, like you need different mindsets to like ask different questions and like probe this person just to like really get a well-rounded look at what this person and like what their skill sets are going to be. And then we'll have them do like a project depending on what the role is to see if they like just to see how if they listen well, they have like great listening skills, if they are very like analytical or creative, like to see what type of mindset they have, if they're more like a visual learner or if they need like more guidance and structure.
Mhm.
So that has helped a lot. But honestly, like it's always changing as we go. But so far that's kind of like what's helped us.
Yeah. And like even for, you know, like I love that you said 3 rounds of interviews because yeah, like the first one is like kind of looking at their skill set, seeing, you know, okay, like does this mesh? And then, you know, filing down even more. But and depending on how closely you're going to be working with these people, like personality matters. And like you're going to spend so much time with these people, like
And
you guys
energy.
and energy, like
Energy matters.
matters so much that you like actually like fuck with these people and like because like someone could be the best at their job, but if they fucking suck, like you don't want to be around them.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I
so
completely
personality matters so much, and you can't learn that from one.
yeah, it does. And also, like you mentioned, you're spending a lot of time with this person. So you have to make sure that you see them fitting in with everybody else, like in the
Mhm.
group. Because what I've learned also is that, so because we're a startup, sometimes people are like, oh my God, I love startups. Like, I'm so excited to get started. And what they don't realize is like startups are like very quick. Like you're just like on your toes, you're moving super fast. We're working on multiple different things at a time. And some people don't realize that afterwards and like, wait, actually, this is not what I wanted. But like, we told you this is a startup. Or they prefer more of like a structured corporate type of working environment, which is not it. But they don't really realize what it is until they're in it. Make sure to say that up front every single time. Like I try to like over communicate as much as possible now because I don't want there to be any surprises. And so that's another thing I've learned to like really over communicate. and really set the expectation, because I just don't want like both parties to feel like deflated or like, wow, like why isn't this working out?
Yeah.
So that's another tip, is like just really just share all of that information like in the interviews.
Totally. And that's something that like that comes with experience, like obviously, because it's like you learned that and now you implement it. So there's so much, I think, especially when it comes to hiring and scaling and delegating, that like, again, you can try to read and listen to a podcast and hear someone else's advice, but there's inevitably things that you will just have to learn through doing it, and having the perspective of like, no losses, just lessons. Like, what can we learn from this? In the moment it might feel like a horrible experience, it's uncomfortable, and you are whatever disappointed. What can we learn from this situation and bring into the rest of the journey?
Yeah, exactly.
Before we wrap up, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your marketing efforts, because like you said, we did meet at an influencer event, a brand event, which was so cute and iconic, by the way. I had so much fun, and I just really love when events do, take the time to do something special like that, to connect with, the people representing their brand or promoting their brand. I think it's a really good idea, and honestly, it just like works for brand awareness. So I would love to know a little bit more about like what your marketing efforts look like, what you've seen a lot of success in, what you haven't seen success in, things like that.
Yeah, so that was actually our first influencer event. So thank you so much. Like,
Killed it.
really love hearing that. We really wanted to, like, our goal was to create like an intimate space where we could like really connect with everybody, and not just have it be like a big party and like everybody's just chatting and then we don't get to meet, like have to have like one-on-ones with everybody. But so yeah, I appreciate that. So our marketing efforts, really, we do a lot of advertising on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on Amazon. And we just started like dabbling into like influencer marketing. So that was really like the kickoff to like our influencer marketing efforts. So we've really never done anything in that space, just because we wanted to really learn about influencers and like what they like, what they don't like, what they want to see from a brand, and like really take their perspective into consideration, because we really want to develop relationships. We don't just want to be like, here, like, let me pay you to post about this. Like, we want you to like really try the product. Hopefully you've experienced something so you can really talk to the product and not just like, like, I'm not going to say like fake it, but like,
Yeah, but fake it.
Yeah. So that I'm really excited to like see that all come to life. We just actually brought on an influencer, our head of like, she's the director of influencer marketing, along with Jody, which you met her, I think, at the event. And so they're like creating this whole thing, which I'm really excited to share out soon. So we'll see how that all like pans out. And then what's really worked for us has been TikTok. Like, honestly, just like sharing my story and like just talking about like what I'm doing right here, right now. Just doing a lot of that on TikTok has been very successful for us, because a lot of women have been able to like relate to my story and like really share like their experience with us. And we've been able to like go viral a couple of times on there. That's really like boosted like our brand awareness. And then as far as like on Amazon, we do a lot of like marketing on there as well, like sharing content about bacterial vaginosis and yeast infections. And that's also propelled the brand forward, because a lot of people who don't know who Happy V is, right? They search a keyword, they're like, something for BV, like a treatment for BV, and then we'll pop up, and a lot of people have discovered us from Amazon.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, like, we do a lot of email marketing, SMS marketing. We do pretty much everything. So I think that the one thing we haven't rolled out just yet, which is what I mentioned before, is like influencer marketing, which I'm really excited to. So like start on that.
Yeah, no, that's so smart. And honestly, I feel like the timing of which you are doing everything is also really smart. Because again, like, I love what you said about building the relationships. I think we're at a point now with the influencer industry and with consumers in general where they're just like it's very saturated. Like, they're used to seeing influencers work with brands one off, and it's just like this one-time thing that they'll never see again. And I think it's just it's not selling anymore. You know what I mean? So I would hate, even when Jess and I do influencer campaigns through our agency and brands come to us and they're like, okay, well, what can we get with this budget? Can we have everyone post like an in-feed post? We're always like, we honestly would rather you save that money, because you will not see a return on investment from one post unless unless they have a cult following, and even then they should supplement it with stories where they're actually talking about the product and how they're incorporated into their lives. So I think even like me as a consumer, like we're getting smarter, we're catching on, like we can tell what's an ad, what isn't. So I think it's so smart for you to like save the influencer campaigns until now, when you guys like already have the brand awareness, you've already gone viral a few times, now to start investing in that, because it's not cheap. Now to start investing in influencers is really smart of you guys.
Yeah, and like just like you said, yeah, we want to, because we want people, like genuine people who are like authentic and like come off as like, guys, like this happened to, or like vulnerable, and like, guys, this happened to me, like blah 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 blah. And I really love this product because I did like so much research behind it and things like that. And there's just so many different types of influencers too. So, you know, it's just like really going through all of the influencers, like vetting them. And again, like just developing relationships, because we don't want to do one-offs. We want to have like long-term relationships where also like that will speak to like their audience, where they're like, okay, they're not just like promoting this product 1 month and then the next month it's like a different one.
Especially with supplements too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. I feel like we covered so much grounds. I'm so happy we're having this conversation. It's such an important conversation to have. I can't believe we haven't had it sooner. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with us and sharing your vulnerability with us. I think that's it. Jess, do you have any wrap-up, follow-up questions?
Nope, I think that's good. I think that this is such an amazing and fun, transparent conversation, and hopefully sheds a lot of light for our female and male audience. Like I hope that our brothers are staying here through the end, because it's so important for them to know, and also just, you know, have,
of course,
men be educated on women's health as well.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much for having me. This was great.
Yes. If people want to follow you and your journey and Happy V, where can they find you at?
So my personal Instagram is Dani, DANI_Levs, LEVS. And then my brand, Happy V, at my Happy V.
Awesome.
On TikTok.
Awesome. We'll make sure to include all the links in our description as always, you guys, and we will see you next week for another episode. Bye.